Hello and welcome to the Books Crypto Club weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday, the 15th of January 2023, and we hold these sessions every week, same time, same place, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. UK time on Zoom. A link to join is in the comments below. The sessions are intended for novices, experts, anyone in between, really. So if you want to learn some of the buzzwords, some of the terms that are used in the crypto blockchain world, you hear about DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, TGs, all sorts of three-letter acronyms, then come along and join us. If you're somebody who is involved in a project or running a project in the crypto or the blockchain space, come along and tell us more about it. Do check the catalogue of the previous recordings, which people really enjoy. Some interesting stuff in there. Do, as the YouTubers say, click on the subscribe, smash the like, make comments on the YouTube channel as well. So with that, let's see who's going to come and join us today. Hey, Stuart, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello there.
I'm good, thank you.
Cool. What brings you along today?
I just came into a lot of money. I'm looking how to invest it into crypto.
Okay. And have you got any experience in the crypto space as yet?
I know nothing.
Nothing. Okay. So I guess the starting point straight away is invest in learning about it, I guess.
So courses and stuff.
Yeah, it can be. There's lots of stuff online that you can read about. Come along to groups like this and ask questions as well. So one of the reasons I hold these sessions is exactly for beginners. They're just at the beginning of the journey and they want to know what some of the basic terms are, and any suggestions and recommendations about where to read things, that kind of thing. But we'll see if anyone else joins us. So you're an absolute novice then?
Yeah, complete novice.
Okay. So where did you hear about crypto to begin with then?
I think it was on Facebook.
Okay. So what drew you to? Did you find it on Facebook or was it an advert or something?
Yeah, it was just a post on Facebook.
Okay. And so what's the plan? What do you intend to do?
Just sort of see what coins interest me.
Okay. So the fact there's more than one coin straight away is a start. Excellent. Well, we'll see who else joins and feel free to ask questions.
All right.
And who else joined us? Hello there. S. Madhav, you're on mute at the moment.
Yeah. Hi, Sati Madhav. Yeah.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello there. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from London.
Okay. We got a real mixture of people. And it's funny. Everyone either seems to be in London or the other side of the world. So kind of all over the place. But London's certainly a bit of a capital at times. What's your interest in crypto?
I'm just trying to get into it, and I have got into it at the moment, and just want to understand. I'm a novice.
Okay. It's funny because Stuart, who's on the call as well, he was saying that he's just beginning and described himself as a beginner or a novice as well. So where did you hear about it originally?
Oh, God, it's all in the press, and I've known it, and it's more out of fear rather than anything. And I'm not much into finance or anything like that. I'm a simple person, but yeah, I play some shares and other things, and now I'm just thinking, oh, crypto, yes.
Okay, well, that's good. And then again, as I was saying to Stuart, one of the reasons for groups like this is because it's a great place for novices to come along and to begin to ask questions and start to learn things, because there's lots of buzzwords and phrases and terms and everything. So that's good.
Half of them I don't understand. So
well, if there's any in particular that you're keen to ask about today, then feel free to ask away.
Today I'll try to listen in and then understand where you are and what it is. And I'm not in finance. I've done business and I do normal business and absolutely not finance or anything. So I invest in myself, not in others.
Okay, that's fine. And it's interesting as well. I always say that the first thing you should invest in is yourself, and do training and education and learn about these things. So definitely the right idea. I see we're joined by Hanny as well. Hi, Hanny. Is Hanny going to come off mute?
Okay, let me see.
Good evening.
Hey. Hello there, Hanny. Oh, she said hello and then she went off again.
Let me switch on the light in the room. It's too dark.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I just got a lamp in the corner. That's it.
Okay. It's not a problem. Hanny, can you hear us okay? I think Hanny's having problems with the microphone at the moment. No problem. So, Stuart, as you heard, we've got people who are novices on the call as well. So if you have any basic questions, any terms that you've heard that you think, what does that mean, or what's a good way, then it looks like Hanny's going to rejoin anyway. So that's good. So sorry, I forgot to catch your first name again. Was it Saurav?
Let me see if I recognize any person. Oh, there's only 4 people there.
It's okay. We've got more coming in at the moment. And we've got James. Good evening, James.
Hey, good evening. Lovely to see you all. Thanks so much. Sorry, I've run a bit late. Great to see you.
No problem. Happy New Year to everybody.
To you as well. Absolutely. Yeah. Happy New Year. It's 2023. Still can't quite believe it. I'm finally getting it right when writing it down. But yeah, really, really great to be here. So thanks so much as always.
Yeah, no problem. It's funny as well where we're talking about the world of crypto and the new normal. And the thing that I always used to remember about the year changing was remembering to change the date on your checks.
Yes. Yes.
Anyone old enough to remember checks?
Oh, yeah.
I remember checks.
So that's the amazing how we've moved from checks and cash to very much crypto and that. And I guess Hanny's rejoined us, so I'm guessing, Hanny, you can hear us okay now. Do you want to say hi?
Yes, I can see you clear. Thank you. My signal on this side is not stable, I guess, this evening, so I don't want to interrupt.
That's not a problem. Well, where are you calling in from, Hanny?
London.
This is, I was saying to somebody before, how there only seems to be 2 places that people call in from, which is either London or elsewhere on the planet.
No. London is a good place.
Yeah.
I'll just correct myself. Technically, I'm not in London. Practically, yes. I'm 100 yards outside the boundaries of Greater London.
Okay.
But we'll give some flexibility there.
That's fine. I remember meeting somebody once who claimed he lived in West London, and he was a consultant who was obviously trying to show off. And he said how he had an apartment in West London. And I said, I don't live far from that. Where is it? And those of you who know London will appreciate it when this guy admitted that his flat was actually in Reading. and so he actually meant west of London, not West London. Anyway, and we've got Elena joined us, who's our international person today. She's further west in lovely Ireland. Hello, Elena.
Very much to the west. Hi, Gary, and hi, everyone else.
Hi.
So we got some new names and faces on today. We never have an agenda. As people who've been on these calls before will be aware, it really is about talking about whatever people want to talk about. So if you're more experienced and you've got some news or some information or some ideas, share away. If you're a novice and you've got some questions that you think, I feel really embarrassed asking this, but I hear this term, whatever. Ask away. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And Elena is brilliant at asking fantastic questions. She asks some really deep, searching ones. So hopefully between us, we can cover off. But I don't know, is everyone into the crypto side of things, or the blockchain, or DeFi, or NFTs? Where's everyone up to? James, what are you up to these days on the crypto side? Or do you prefer to go by Jimmy for crypto events?
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, James, Jimmy, I'm easy with everything. And yeah, very much. Still crypto generally. I'm extremely interested sort of in XRP in terms of the legalities around that and the SEC. I'm finding that very interesting, actually, for just a number of different reasons. So that's a big deal for me at the moment. I've touched into NFT space as well, just playing around with that a little bit, which has been interesting. But yeah, for me, it's mainly sort of crypto. And yeah, I've been sort of in the space now for the last sort of 5 years, and find it fascinating as I did at the start. Really, it's always moving, it's always changing, and I think there's so many kind of debates in terms of regulation, not regulation, all of the things that, as we've seen, that's been going on in terms of the exchanges and such like. So yeah, I'm very much kind of still there, still enjoying it, really.
Yeah, that's great. And it's one of those things for real beginners as well to realize that there are thousands of cryptocurrencies out there. You know, in the early days, there was just mainly Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's still dominant in terms of crypto activity. So, you know, when you read stuff in the news, it's typically still about Bitcoin and how that goes up, down, sideways, and that kind of thing. And then a lot of the press was about, crypto is about money laundering and criminal activity and that, but we've kind of moved on from that. But yeah, a quick recommendation for people, if anyone is just at absolute beginning with crypto and would like to, you know, just learn a little bit more about what's in there, there's a great website which is coinmarketcap.com, which I'll share the screen of now. And this is a great way of checking out all the various cryptocurrencies. And as we can see, you know, the number one crypto at the moment, it's got Bitcoin there, currently at $20,800. But you can scroll through pages and pages of different cryptocurrencies. And there's lots and lots of them. And they're all linked either to different blockchains or to different projects in some way. So I always say, you know, a great starting point, if you want to just get a very quick overview of the entire cryptocurrency market, check out coinmarketcap.com. It's a really useful place to go to begin with. I see we've just been joined by, who's that came in? Display name guest. Who's that then? Someone set their screen profile to say display name, and it doesn't actually display the name. Never mind. Okay, so yeah, for anyone who's a beginner, if you're looking at cryptocurrencies, CoinMarketCap's always a good place to take a look at to begin with, because you can then go into individual cryptocurrencies and find more details about them. So as an example of that, if we just quickly, we've got Bitcoin here, and if we just click on it, you'll see it takes us into the actual details about Bitcoin and the markets. Because if you think about the days when you could buy and sell shares, you could only go to one exchange. So if you wanted to buy a share in a company that was UK registered, you had to go to the London Stock Exchange, and you could only access that through a broker. The great thing about crypto is that you can access cryptocurrencies via many exchanges, and you don't need to go via a broker. So you can trade directly in that. So Binance is one of the major cryptocurrency exchanges, and they allow you to buy and sell Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrencies. So I don't know if any of you have got accounts with exchanges yet. Were you thinking of buying anything? But that's certainly, but Binance is always a good place to look. Crypto.com is another one. And blockchain.com is another one. Crypto.com and blockchain.com used to always recommend those because they were very simple to use. And then as you get more sophisticated, then the likes of Binance, which is this one, can be quite good to look at as well. So I don't know if anyone or everyone has looked at these kind of things before, but they're quite useful ones.
I have something in Binance, but still not gone deep.
Okay.
Afraid, scared. Dip my toe in it. That's it.
Yeah. And that's often the way that, you know, people start learning about these things. I find what people tend to do when they first get into cryptocurrencies, first of all, they start reading about it. So there's a few very detailed books that go into great detail, which is probably too much. It's easy just to go onto YouTube these days and watch a few channels, but don't believe anything anyone says. You know, because they're always into hyping and that. If you find you go onto a YouTube channel and it says, "You've got to buy this now," you know, type thing, and you know, I'm gonna make you a millionaire, blah blah blah. No, they're not. But most of the people who are on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok who make money out of those things, they make money by selling information. They don't always make money out of the crypto itself. So yeah, worth checking some of those things.
On that point, I mean, really interesting. I mean, Binance, I think it's great because it actually offers sort of a simplified version. So when you first go onto Binance, you literally can go and use it in a very simple way. And then as you get a bit more confident, or you want to maybe do a little bit of trading or such, like, you can literally just then click the advanced button and then loads of features come on. When I sort of first looked at Binance after using Coinbase, which was just so expensive, to be honest, to buy and sell anything. It was like, oh gosh, this is really complex. But actually, as time goes on, it's not bad at all, and it's quite as simple. And if you're in the UK, any deposits or withdrawals are on the FPS system, so they're quite quick to your account. So it's for me, it works very well.
The other thing I was going to offer for people who are real beginners as well is that Binance, again, if I go onto the site, so Binance is just the website of the crypto exchange, but what it has up at the top, if you click on these like 9 dots or what squares or whatever, is what's called Binance Academy. And Binance Academy is an educational site. So you can learn absolutely all sorts on here. You can go to the various courses that they do that are free. And in fact, with some of the Binance courses that they do, you can do a thing called Learn and Earn. So you can actually start to learn about crypto. And as you watch these videos, which are quite basic at times, they give you crypto tokens, usually a thing called BNB, which is the Binance token. So quite good there. Sorry, someone was going to say?
I really like learning about crypto and stuff, so I'll probably check that out.
Yeah, so it's a great one. So just go to Binance.com and navigate to the Academy, and then it's got the Learn and Earn section. The great thing about that is it's paying you to learn, which is brilliant. And you only get BNB token, as it says. It's this what used to be known as Binance Coin, but at least that's something that you can actually get into crypto without having to buy anything, and it's a great way of learning as well. So good one to check out. I don't know, has anyone else got any recommendations, any sites they've looked at?
May I add my 2 cents?
Yeah.
2 crypto cents, sorry.
Your 2 Satoshis.
Yeah. University of Nicosia, if I say Nicosia.
Yep.
They offer some courses for beginners. There is an introduction to decentralized finance and an introduction to digital currency.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone's interest goes beyond Binance, they might consider trying that out.
Yeah, I
enrolled myself. I am looking forward to the start of both courses, and then after I finish them, if after. I won't be a beginner anymore, but I will be one step above it.
I can certainly recommend for anybody who wants to learn about digital currencies in depth, at a very detailed level, then the University of Nicosia, as Lena says, that they offer what's called it's a 3-month online training course, which is called a MOOC, so a massive online course. And it's free, and it actually feeds into the master's degree that they do. I actually have done that course. I am actually a University of Nicosia ambassador, which I became one a few years ago after doing the course, and then getting about 8 people to join me and also to do the course. It's fantastic. It is very technical, very detailed. If you want to get into really under the hood about like how a crypto wallet works and how a blockchain works and the differences between different wallets, it's fantastic. If you're just a genuine beginner, I would suggest it's quite advanced, but I can certainly recommend it. Hanny's asking for a link. I'll see if we can find it in a moment if we carry on talking about some stuff. But Elena, when does the course begin?
One of them begins on the 3rd of February, and the other one begins in April.
Yeah.
Both are 12 weeks long. And I am going to try to find the link now.
Well, I'm just having a look at it while we're talking. The other great thing about that course is that you get to sit an examination, and it is not an easy exam. In fact, you have to do a test I think it's each week you actually do. So you do, I think it's a one-line online session, which is either live or recorded. So they run it live, and then if you want to watch it on playback, you can watch the recording. It's got a test with it each week. And then at the end of the course, I seem to remember there's another test as well. And it is difficult. I will say you do need to study, but it's an open book test. So you can have your course notes with you as you go through. But yeah, I can recommend that. It is really, really good. I'm just trying to find details of it at the moment. There we go. Free MOOC in digital currency. So I'll post a link to it in the chat, but I'll also share it here as well. But yeah, for anybody who wants to get into digital currencies, crypto, in a great way. And the fantastic thing, it's taught by Andreas Antonopoulos, who, for those who don't know, he is one of the guys who really knows his stuff. He's been in this space since the very early days of 2009. I think it was he got into it. But I've just shared a link in the chat, and you can register. And as Elena says, they've got various start dates. The first one is in a couple of weeks' time, and it is a fascinating course. I learned a lot, and I've been in this space for 6 or 7 years now, and I was quite impressed by the amount of new things I learned on it. So I can thoroughly recommend it. And it's free, which is fantastic. But for beginner, for the absolute novice, I would suggest it's a little bit advanced. But yeah, you get the course notes and everything. You can download them. And they recommend some good books as well. But anything Andreas Antonopoulos talks about is worth listening to, because he seriously knows his stuff. So yeah, wish you luck with that, Elena. It is a great session. So that's good. So, any other questions from anybody so far?
Since I admit it to be an absolute beginner, could you just say the difference between crypto, blockchain, and everything else, so that I know a little bit, but I would like to refresh and hear from.
Okay. So this is really interesting, because I actually do consultancy in a lot of this stuff. So blockchain is just the network of computers that are all connected to each other using exactly the same software to all synchronize their databases between each other. They usually use a technique called crypto mining, and that's where they do it's like a competition between all the computers to come up with the solution to a puzzle. And with Bitcoin, this runs every 10 minutes. And so they all compete to do this puzzle, and whoever wins the puzzle wins Bitcoin. Okay, so that's how new Bitcoin comes into existence. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency which simply sits on top of the blockchain layer, and it's used for as a financial incentive for the miners to do this. So what you'll hear sometimes is blockchain, which is kind of like the foundation level. It's like at the database, the network, the security, the software level. Cryptocurrency is an application that sits on top of that. And then there are other things that sit on top of that. So cryptocurrency is simply an ability to transfer amounts and maintain account balances. When you make that programmable, that's where you then start hearing about things like crypto tokens. And that's where you hear things about like NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens and so on. Yeah. So it kind of builds up on layers and layers. But fundamentally, blockchain is pretty much the bottom level of stuff. And so we've been joined by Ian. Hi, Ian.
Hey, Gary. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Sorry, I came late, so I didn't want to interrupt anybody.
Hi, Ian.
No, Not a problem. A few people know each other then?
No, just being friendly.
Okay, that's good.
I'm just
That's always
gonna nip to the toilet for a minute.
no. So Ian, what's your level of interest in the crypto space?
Yeah, I should introduce myself. I live in Abu Dhabi. I run a holding of crypto companies. I started my crypto journey for full time in 2017 with a company called Applicature, which I have co-founded, and it turned into the venture building studios. We have worked with 400 companies in the space. Currently, we have 3 venture building studios focusing on different layer 1 solutions, so they are not overlapping. I have a dev background myself, but I'm a manager, obviously. We also have a venture fund. We've invested in 35 companies, and we are going to invest in about 55 companies over the next 2 years. So I really came to meet you guys because I'm in the group. I'm the Crypto AM group, but I never participate. Like, I'm not the type of a guy who will like text in a group like discussing the Bitcoin price and what have you.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows whether it's going up or down or what have you. But it's good to just hop on the Zoom call and say hi to other people and contribute to the conversation. I'm a practitioner really. So, I've like the venture building studios that we've started, like they've helped multiple ecosystems evolve. Like we've helped Polkadot with a lot of technical stuff. We've helped Internet Computer Protocol with many things that they were struggling with. But always interesting to hear the basics. So it's good that you're explaining these things to people.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that we have a real mix on these calls, and we never really know what we're going to end up talking about. It depends from week to week. Sometimes we get quite technical because we've got a group of technical people on. Sometimes it really can be, as you can see, very, very basic. And what I try and do is either facilitate the conversation or try and do a little bit of a times translation. Because you mentioned a couple of phrases there. You talk about layer 1 and layer 2. And straight away, people who are in novices and the space might go, what's layer 1, what's layer 2 type thing? Maybe, Ian, do you want to quickly explain the difference?
Yeah, I can do that. Layer 1 is as the blockchain solution, like Gary, you were describing Bitcoin, so it's a layer 1. Layer 2 was invented from the understanding that operating on a Bitcoin network or any other network, such as Ethereum, for example, would be too slow, too costly, and like for micro operations and micro transactions, you would want to take the same entire idea of the blockchain network where there are transactions and potentially smart contracts, but you create a sub-network of nodes that can mint the transactions faster and the transaction fees would be lower. And then when you need to really kind of save the state of your transactions, you can save the state to the layer 1, paying a somewhat larger fee, but keep operating on the layer 2 solution with almost no fees.
Okay, so let me see if I can put that slightly differently, and we'll see how this works through as well. Look, layer 1, as Ian exactly says, it's the basic blockchain layer. So many cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, have a blockchain, which is the protocol that manages the network, and then it has an associated cryptocurrency, and that's a layer 1 protocol. One of the challenges with that, and Bitcoin is an example, is I mentioned before how you've got these crypto miners who are all competing every 10 minutes to create a block and this kind of thing. Well, every 10 minutes, a block of data of transactions is created. And in Bitcoin, it's probably got about 2,000 to 2,500 transactions in there. So this is people who are paying each other in some way. So there's about 2,500 transactions every 10 minutes are recorded on this blockchain. When you work that out, that roughly equates to about 7 transactions per second, which is not very fast. Okay, Ethereum, which uses some similar things, that was on, I think it was 14 transactions a second. So for most activities, 7 transactions per second for a payment system is not fast enough. And this is where, as Ian says, what sometimes happens is that companies will set up, it's almost like their own little mini blockchain in a way. And it's called off-chain because it's not on the main blockchain, but it's a network of other computers who then talk to each other, who can run faster. And then finally, when everyone's agreed with all the results, they put it back onto the main blockchain. So this is where you'll hear about layer 1, which is things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. And then you'll hear about layer 2 solutions. And then Ian mentioned another really interesting thing as well. If I've got a Bitcoin blockchain and I've got an Ethereum blockchain, what happens if I want to try and connect the two in some way? And this is where there's massive growth in blockchain interoperability. So getting blockchains to talk to each other. So Ian mentioned, was it Polygon? I think it was one of the ones you mentioned. Yeah, you've got that, and you've got ICP, so Internet Computer Protocol, various ways of getting blockchains to talk to each other, which is a major growth area. And quite often they'll have their own crypto tokens as well. This is which then links in with another thing that Ian mentioned. He mentioned the phrase smart contracts. And smart contracts are computer programs. Often they're made up to sound really impressive, but they're just little computer programs associated with crypto tokens, which means that you can use them for payment things as well. This is where it gets very complicated very quickly. So hopefully that was a reasonable explanation of some of those things. But it does go quite deep, quite fast. And this is where Elena was talking about that digital currencies course, that goes into some of these things in quite detail. So Ian, you're saying you were in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah. I am, yeah.
Yeah, which makes a change because most other people, certainly on the Crypto IM group, are in Dubai usually.
Oh yeah, I was meant to settle in Dubai, and because so I had lived in Ukraine before and then spent 7 months in Egypt during Corona times, loved the Middle East. Then a friend of mine, Joshua Hawley from US Capital, was like, Ian, you should move to Dubai with all your crypto transactions and the stuff that you do. So I've set up the company in Dubai. And then right before we actually like started searching for a place to rent, I decided to go to Abu Dhabi for 2 days, and I definitely loved I loved everything about it. Like, of course, it's a super laid back place, compatible for families. It's incredibly serene, beautiful, but also like the fact that it's influential and like full of capital has drawn my attention, and the crypto ecosystem is not developed at all. To say the least. It was hard to crack Abu Dhabi because it's much more, like in my opinion, you need to do business with locals in order to, to get things done. And locals, they are protective and reserved in terms of like dealing with the outsiders, because for them it's been, the same story where the people came, they wanted to raise money from them or like get them into really shady partnerships, and they got burned like many times. So that has developed them a certain immunity, and it took me like more than a year to really like crack the nut and start being kind of one of the trusted people among their community. But it's finally like starting to like capitalize into like relationships where people want to invest in my fund here, or some people are inviting me to be the GP of their small funds in Abu Dhabi. So I would say it was a calculated move, and I'm 100% satisfied with having chosen Abu Dhabi versus Dubai.
Brilliant. Because certainly I think the two major crypto capitals up till now seem to have been London, or at least people seem to think that because so many people live there, and Dubai's been rapidly developing, and Dubai's been doing a lot of stuff about putting in place crypto regulation to be crypto supportive. So it's going to be interesting in the UK what's going to happen in the next few months, because there's some legislation that's about to be passed that takes quite a close look at cryptocurrencies and the regulation of them. So, yeah, it should be interesting on that. So maybe
I'm very bullish on crypto. I think so. The flair that I'm getting from the local regulators in Abu Dhabi, and they are like one head above Dubai in terms of like the capital and how they play the game. Like they talk billions of dollars. Dubai may be talking like different things, and you read a lot of stuff on like a lot of PR stories, but Abu Dhabi, they silently like deploy immense amounts of capital, and they are interested in like making crypto regulated so that they can they can really like ride the wave and try to leverage crypto as a way for their expansion in like Africa, Asia, everywhere.
I guess that's the other thing. We had someone on the call last week who's doing a lot of stuff between the US and it was the US, Argentina, some Russia, and the Middle East. And the great thing about what he was doing in the Middle East, he was out of Dubai, was he was doing it with Africa. And as you say,
what's his name?
I can't remember the name offhand because I get mixed up with so many people. But if you check the recording, because I always record these and post these on YouTube, he should be on there. But he was doing a lot of like physical trading. So he was doing things like beef stock or beef cattle rather between Argentina and various other countries. But he was also beginning to do some things in Africa as well. And I think he'd just come back from Dubai, in fact. But he was saying about how the Middle East in general, I think you mentioned Abu Dhabi, is really growing in this space.
Yeah. I thought maybe you were talking about Farzam Kalamabadi, if you know him. Okay.
Name's not familiar. But then I guess you and I are probably in many groups where there's all sorts of people doing all sorts of things. And talking people doing all sorts of things, we've been joined with Eric as well. So Eric's on the other side of the world, over in California, unless he's been swept away by the rains. You okay, Eric?
Yeah, no, they had bigger rains up north, San Luis Obispo. The cars were literally floating down the street. The water was like higher than the car level, and they had to evacuate Montecito completely. In my area of the world, it rained torrentially, which is a wonderful thing because we really get so little rain in the year. Mm-hmm. Like it rained 1 or 2 days in the year, right? And with the rain that we got, one of my closets flooded. So I spent a bunch of time taking everything out of the closet and then soaking up all the water and figuring out where it's, So it's been interesting. Not the way that I needed to spend my time. I'm so busy.
I remember saying that, but it's funny with just going back to the weather briefly for a moment, because in the UK we had some flooding the last few days, and there's all sorts of flood warnings out, and at the same time we still have a hosepipe ban in some parts of the country. So it's kind of like crazy times. But yeah, Eric, you're doing lots of blockchain and crypto stuff, aren't you?
For me, it's been all and only blockchain and crypto for since 2012. That's I live and breathe this stuff like every day, all day. Much more. I've bitten off much more than I can chew. So there literally aren't enough hours in the day.
Because it's interesting. Ian's in Abu Dhabi. And he was talking about the various projects that I guess, is it your company invests in, or you hothouse them?
We invest, yeah. And by the way, I'm going to be in California next week. So I was curious where Eric lives, whether it's northern California.
I'm in LA.
Got it.
So
I'll be in LA in 2 weeks. I should ping you.
Yeah, definitely. I don't exactly know how we can connect, but you can find me on Twitter or Telegram as Ekkis, EKKIS.
Probably your best bet. You can always pop your LinkedIn profiles or whatever you use in the chat. That might be your easiest one, or your Twitter profile in the chat.
the thing is, I seem to have lost the chat, Gary. I don't know where you guys are anymore. The only thing I have is a link to this meeting, so.
Okay. But within the actual this meeting, there should be a chat box. Let me see.
Oh yes, in this meeting, yes.
There we go. So Ian's just pinged in his connection detail anyway, or his Telegram thing.
Yeah, that works.
Cool.
Wonderful.
So there you go. That's the magic of networking, isn't it? Where we've magically connected two people from about, what, 10,000 miles apart? And now you get to meet.
It's crazy. It's wonderful, really.
I was amazed a couple of years ago when the lockdowns began, and I started running some events online on Zoom, and I ended up connecting someone in Hong Kong who was working with a manufacturer out there with someone in the UK who wanted products making, and they'd never heard of each other before. They happened to be on the call. I was able to connect them, so hopefully they did some good business from it. So that's great. Elena, you've been quiet and you're observing today. Have you brought any questions along for us?
Earlier we spoke about layer 1 and layer 2 blockchain.
Hmm?
Are there layer 3 and 4 and so on? And if they are, and the metaverse, what layer is that?
I love Elena's questions because they always make you think that little bit more.
No, I'm genuinely
interested. No, I get it. I mean, I don't know anything beyond layer 2. Ian or Eric are going to be much better placed to answer that. I've never even heard of layer 3.
It's like, it's so good to have the discussion where somebody who doesn't have a very profound understanding of blockchain is like, but why is this way? Like, is there layer 3? Mm-hmm. And then you start thinking like, wow, what an interesting opportunity for the new category altogether, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, and what the layer 3 could look like if the layer 2 is already like a scalable solution, then layer 3 could be something really like, peer-to-peer, but in a very agile way, and then syncing to the layer 2, then syncing to the layer 1. Interesting. But no, there is no answer to this because nobody asked, I think.
Yeah. Elena, that is such a wonderfully profound question. If I was you, I'd go away and register and copyright it now. Write an article on LinkedIn. You use ChatGPT to write an article saying, please produce a LinkedIn article about what layer 3 might be in the future. Post it, and you will be the world leading authority on layer 3 instantly. Because I've not heard the term. And exactly as Ian says, sometimes someone will ask something so profoundly basic that you go, ooh, not thought about that. So yeah, I mean, my thinking is that layer 3 might be what people try and call Web 3 in some way when that fades away. That then starts linking in exactly as you said with things like the Metaverse. We've already got platforms which are blockchain. I'm not even sure if they're layer 2 or layer 1. I think they're layer 1, which are blockchains which are Metaverse interoperable, you might say. So you've got things like Epic, who do a lot of gaming, and Axie Infinity, who do crypto tokens and this. And Ian's kind of smiling at some of this because he's probably thinking, yeah, it's not so great. But there are already some blockchain metaverse interoperabilities going on. And maybe you've just profoundly just come up with a solution, which is layer 3. I don't know. Eric?
No, I think one approach would be like to laugh at some of these questions, but another one is like someone can be like so surprisingly refreshing with these. Like, why is it this way, guys? You probably saw this this interview with Elon Musk where somebody has told him about like the cooling system with the gas or something, and he was like, wow, yeah, we're not using it, we should use it. And it was so obvious, but he lived in his own bubble, and he stopped maybe noticing some things that would be like too obvious. Mm-hmm. And someone externally would just shed the light on this blind spot. Yeah. So I love that.
So that's why I always congratulate Elena, because she asks some wonderfully on the mark questions, which are it's the innocence kind of thing of you saying, "Oh, what about this?" Yeah, and it's fantastic. It's a bit like I remember my son many years ago. We were outdoors and we were looking at a rainbow, and he was already at the level that he knew that rain and sun creates a rainbow. He said, "So if it snows and you get the sun, do you have a snow bow?" And I'd never thought of that. Interesting.
Yeah.
So layer 3 could well be the answer to the metaverse and interoperability and on Web3. Who knows?
I can tell what I'm hoping for. It would be for the banks to say that I'm not Bitcoin maximalist. I don't think the Bitcoin will substitute the banks. I think the banking system will adopt the cryptocurrencies. I even have a better theory about that, which I can share later. But what I'm hoping for is that banks would say, okay, Solidity and Ethereum virtual machine is a system good enough for us to just start coding our new solutions in this programming language, and then slowly that will help merge the current IT systems of the financial services with the blockchain, and you will never find the difference. Because hopefully, like, instead of like their mainframes and Fortrans and all the 60-year-old languages that they are using, they will start using Solidity. Like, that's what I, as a developer and a true believer in blockchain and Ethereum, would really crave for. But also, my theory is that if you want to enslave someone, you need to persuade them that it's the freedom. So if the cryptocurrencies were invented by the Secret Service guys, as one of the assumptions says, then it's a perfect play, like introducing something that will be first promoted as a freedom money, but when you get to the essence of it, it's as the most traceable asset on earth so far. Much better than cash, as good as the banking transactions, but can also go to a micro level where you can almost program the experience of a particular cent or a dollar in the wallet of a particular user.
I think it's interesting. One of the things I've learned over the past few years is generally any legislation means exactly the opposite of what it's called. So, so things like, the Freedom of Information Act actually tends to hide things. The Patriot Act, as it wasn't actually about patriotism. So I think you're right in some ways that we talk about censorship resistance, anonymous transactions, and this is the thing I loved for a while, that all the crime agencies all publicly say that they hate cryptocurrency, it's used by money launderers, criminals, blah, 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 but in private they love it. Exactly, for, as Ian says, it's all completely traceable in some way. And so it's pseudo-anonymous, which means it looks like you can't work out what's going on, but you can actually devise methods of tracing and tracking transactions and that. So
100%, especially if you are like, you think you're using the blockchain and your address is anonymous, but how about the communication with the API providers through which your wallet is working and submitting the transactions? It all is logged on the servers, and any federal service like security agency can get a hold of the records. It's so easy, and you can backtrace like years back, really.
Well, that's the other thing, because I know that I think it was 3 years ago now, the US, whatever the department is who look after taxation in the States, I believe that they approached one of the exchanges, I think it was crypto.com or, Coinbase, and they asked for effectively every record of every transaction kind of thing. And Coinbase said, don't be silly, that's an unreasonable request. And I think they eventually negotiated that they could have details of every transaction over a certain amount, along with the KYC, so they know your customer information about who that transaction was made from or to. But what people didn't quite think about was that then gave the agency details of all of those crypto wallets, and they could then go onto the blockchain and see every other transaction. So yeah, you're right on that. Hani mentions that there can be blockchain data privacy solution, which is true, but it's interesting as well. If you look at the regulators now, there's a couple of platforms or cryptocurrencies like Zcash and Monero, which are known as being privacy coins. There was also Tornado Cash, which was a mixing service that could obfuscate things. I think it was the US government did a raid on somebody in Europe recently who was a Tornado Cash developer. And they did a raid simply because he'd been involved in the project in some way. So data privacy is very interesting because it's something that we as individuals want and states tend not to want. And the law enforcement agencies will always say, well, if you're not doing anything illegal, then what's the problem? But there is the whole thing about, the balance between privacy and society and that. But yeah, Hani makes a good point. There are privacy solutions. What I'm seeing, though, is that some of them, some of the exchanges certainly won't deal with the likes of Zcash because of the fact it is a privacy coin. And what they argue is that puts them at risk of being exposed to, there's a thing called the Sixth Anti-Money Laundering Directive. And in Europe, there's a thing called MiCA, which is the markets in crypto assets. And this is all sorts of regulation that's going on all over the place. About tracking and tracing and monitoring crypto behavior. So yeah, Hani, there are privacy solutions. Whether they will be allowed to go mainstream is another question. So we've got just over 5 minutes left before we finish for the day. Does anyone have any questions or anything they'd like to share?
Yeah, I had a thought, which was, it's about like privacy and control. And I live in a very interesting place. Like Abu Dhabi is where you kind of have a lot of freedom, but you are observed through the security cameras all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So in part of me is like, maybe I'd be okay for the governments to observe and make sure that all my transactions are compliant, as long as that actually creates more freedom for me, so that as long as everything I do is legal, like banks don't bother me with like stupid questions, and I can do whatever I want with my money. So, me personally, I would be open to like give up the privacy and be more transparent in public if it ensures me, more freedom in terms of what I can do if it's legal.
But it doesn't. It doesn't. You see, you're giving up your privacy is giving up your freedom. When you have privacy, you have freedom by de facto, right? Because governments can't enforce rules that they arbitrarily make when they have no knowledge. If you have a gun and it's unregistered, well, they don't know you have it, so they can't take it away. They physically cannot go house to all the citizens and search their houses top to bottom looking for guns. So it begins with voluntary compliance, particularly to disclose information. Once they have you registered, they can show up to your house specifically and say, surrender that gun, right? And at that point, you're done, right?
Yeah,
so,
I agree with you. I have
the
to
whole
like
anti-money laundering thing is merely a scarecrow for the collection of surveillance information that is used for control. And control is ultimately used for punishment and for it's not really like about taking your freedom, it's about taking your life. They want you dead. That's what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have to admit, I live in a very special place where they're kind of not touching anybody. They want people to come and live tax free. So, but once it changes, of course, it will be scary because they have so much data on everybody. So
If you
totally
give them the
agree.
power, they have the power. Right now, you're presuming that they're benevolent, but they're not. I mean, they could be benevolent and turn malevolent, but they already turned malevolent, right? They already are conducting campaigns to vaccinate people and inject them with shit that kills them because they want to reduce the population, and they've told you so, right? They've told everybody there's too many of us. We need to reduce the population, and what that they say there's too much carbon, right? And you're the carbon that they want to get rid of, basically.
Okay, I'm going to move the conversation on from the semi-conspiracy type thing, although I have to admit that the definition of conspiracy theorist seems to be someone who knows the truth 3 months before everyone else. It seems the case. But yeah, it's a good point. As Ian says, most people aren't worried about things that are legal. The problem is when the government suddenly decides that something you were previously doing that was legal is now illegal. And that's the whole thing.
It happens all the time. They criminalize things that were, even if they don't make it retroactive, right? I mean, you own a gun and they all of a sudden declare that gun illegal. You're now a criminal, right? And the problem is that there is really no longer any law. I mean, there is law on the books, but the biggest criminals are the governments. They violate the law that they're supposed to be enforcing all the time. So at that point, your only defense is privacy. That's why I think the privacy coins are so important, because defending your financial privacy is the core of it.
I think it's a very interesting space, and it's a very important discussion as well that needs to be had. I'm mindful, however, we've got some beginners on the call today as well, who are probably now thinking, what's a privacy coin and this Bitcoin privacy thing, that kind of thing. So I just want to...
Hi, JT.
Yeah, JC's on. I wanted to quickly say hello to him before we close it
Hi,
off.
guys. You know, I care a lot about privacy, as most of you know, and what I'm doing is related to that. So my 2 cents is, you know, it all depends on the government of the day, you know. So and that's what's scary. And I keep telling people, look what's happening with Twitter files now. I think it's a wake-up call for many, you know. And people care about privacy, because I always say, when you go with your wife or your girlfriend to your bedroom, you leave your windows open, you everything open for everybody to see now. So you do care about privacy. It's just context that people need to have to start to care a bit more about it, you know?
Yeah. So a very good point. And privacy, again, it's one of those things that you don't realize you need until you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And then it's what I describe as the boiling the frog principle, that the heat gradually gets turned up, you lose your freedoms bit by bit. So, well, look, folks, that's probably a great time to finish for the day. Before I find myself having knocks on the door from people flying dark helicopters and this kind of thing. But it's a really interesting discussion. Thank you very much, everyone, for contributing to that. Very much appreciated.
I wish I came earlier. God, you know, it seems to have been going well, the discussions.
Yeah, we're trying to build it. That's good. And also, we're getting the connections as well. So Ian, hopefully, is going to meet Eric in a couple of weeks if he flies over. Just don't talk about anything that you've been talking about now before you fill in the green card to head out there.
Sounds good.
They can get up excited. But everyone who's on the call, thank you very much for your attention. Thanks for the contribution. Elena, thank you for the wonderful left field thinking on stuff as well. It's really appreciated. Thanks everyone for coming. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, don't forget, click like, subscribe, or even better, come along to a future session. Have a great day and bye for everybody.